Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you join us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, August 16, 2025, and then posted to all media channels and platforms on Sunday, August 17th, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things really help. We're headed towards 100,000 subscribers for certification of the channel. And remember, subscribing is always free. For those that want to participate in the live streams I do on Fridays, I answer a plethora of questions. You're welcome to join our Platinum YouTube membership. There's a join button on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. If you're new to the channel, we gather questions from our YouTube page under the post section. My team puts out a request for questions for these shows on Mondays. We had 1,100 questions this week. My wife, Linda, then goes through them and comes up kind of with a representative sample of questions. I think today there are 90 questions in the mix that we'll be answering and doing a countdown from. So, without any further delay, and before we start, I want to send a sincere thanks for all the people that support the channel, put the very thoughtful questions in the mix. Really always helps the quality of the show and the information that's derived and comes through from my team. So very appreciative for all the thoughtfulness and the care and the concern, the things that goes into the questions for these shows. So thank you again. I want to say that. So starting off with our show now, question number 90. Since so much of the nation's classified information has been compromised, is the intelligence community currently withholding some or most information from the administration to protect our nation's security? Well, there's actually been some form of concealment going on for actually many decades. So there are sections of the I'll say classified information community that watch that information very, very carefully. So there is some concealment going on to kind of protect overall safety of the nation. Yes. 89. Do guides work with multiple people at the same time? So for the most part, for the trillions of guides that are out there, remember, and these are individuals that walked the earth at one time. They've gone through thousands of reincarnations. For the most part, they're dedicated actually to just one person at a time. Remember, guides do trade out as you go life cycle to life cycle. Some are on 7-year cycles, some are on 10-year cycles here. But depending on what you're doing, you might get a new set of guides or have a couple swapped out. There are actually even more evolved guides than the ones that actually work with us. And those are actually working to support world causes, energy, peace, health. So there are different types of guides, but the trillions that work and assign for the most people on Earth, they're dedicated to that one person. They're not working across multiple people. 88. Hi, Sterling and guides. With the media crackdown continuing, would you take a look at whether the administration will crack down on YouTube? Yes, you're actually going to see more critical evaluations of content on YouTube. It's very true. So it'll be scrutinized, and there's probably going to be some risk here of some channels or some types of content being demonetized. That's true. So there's a high level of scrutiny coming up in all aspects of media platforms, including YouTube. 87. If you have pets and you tragically pass away before they do they understand what happened? Can you visit them from the spiritual realm? So pets are from the angelic realm. In fact, all animals are from the angelic realm. Not angels, but they're from the angelic realm. They come down with unconditional love. They know your life path sometimes better than you do. They know when you're going to pass before you do. So yeah, it's not a surprise to them. They completely understand what's going on in your life and their life. And yes, you can visit them no matter if you're on the other side. You can visit them if they're still here, and certainly get together with them when they cross over as well. 86. The technical team investigating Skinwalker Ranch is making profound discoveries and advancing their understanding of the events on that location. They are continually under surveillance by unknown entities and have had an incursion stealing data from security cameras and computer hard drives. Their investigation into this matter demonstrated the data breach was too fast to have been executed by human hands and had to have been done remotely. Who was doing this and why was the data taken? So this data is all being acquired by remote satellite technology. And there are elements of world governments that are very interested in this information, and that's why they're extracting this information for review. So it's actually being done, and actually there are some extraterrestrial groups that are extracting this information as well to see how close they're getting to understanding everything that's there. There's a level of protection. The LAVTs want to kind of keep around them until full disclosure is made, because a lot of humanity just does not understand what extraterrestrials are all about, the millions of years they've been engaged. 85. Do you see September 2025 for 45 and his administration's separation in relationship to the AIM strategy? Will there be a period of time of chaos in the streets? So I still see a lot of this movement taking place around end of summer, September. Now, if you're new to the channel, my team back last November talked about what's called the AIM strategy. A standing for analysis of like election data, I standing for investigation, even worldwide investigation, M standing for movement and military engagement, S standing for separation. So I still see a lot. We've seen a lot of this happen. We've seen the analysis. We've seen Election Truth Alliance release. We've seen audits coming up in various states. Seen a lot of military movement around the nation. So it's still on a trajectory here. Remember, I'm just a telephone to the other side. Happy to relay the information, but they're still showing me it's on track. And I think the other question was, will there be riots in the street? There's going to be in certain major cities. There's going to be some rioting going on around all this, but I get it will be put under control very quickly when the truth comes out. 84. Many years ago, a friend of mine took me to see the great Aretha Franklin. Our seats were right next to the stage. During the concert, Aretha kept looking at me. People sitting near me noticed it too and commented on it. While Aretha sang the song Spanish Harlem, she held a rose. At the end of the song, she reached down and gave me the rose. My question is, why did she look at me and give me the rose? I get that she simply perceived you were somebody that was say an emotional framework that needed the extra support, that wanted to genuinely give you the love. It was more about like an emotional connection here is what they're showing me. Nothing other than that, nothing, higher spiritually or a past life connection or anything of that nature. Something here just about kind of an emotional love connection that you needed support that time. And so that was a lovely gesture. She was a sensitive channeler and creative. And so, those kinds of actions are very understandable. 83. Will the prosecution of Senator Schiff by the DOJ be successful? Well, it won't result in any jail time. They're going to move ahead with a case, but it's not going to result in any jail time. 82. Are the representatives of the Joint Chiefs of Staff alarmed at the misuse of military personnel to intimidate and bully communities like Los Angeles and New York City? Are they taking steps to remove the current administration? Well, yes, this is all part of a process going on behind the scenes. Yes, they're very surprised. Yes, they're very threatened. But there's a major kind of planning going on behind the scenes here, all top secret. But there are many individuals in these organizations that are definitely focused on saving democracy, saving the nation. Let's put it that way. 81. Can fallen angels interact with us or lower our energy levels, interfering with communication with our real angels? No, so fallen angels are still part of the angelic realm. They've chosen not to follow kind of the ways of the one source, the one force. Fallen angels don't necessarily get involved on an individual basis with people. They do get involved kind of on a larger scale with nations or countries. But no, so they don't directly interfere. Now, if you don't keep your energy high, you're depressed all the time or very high anxiety, you can shut down your team from communicating with you. You can block them. There's no real blocks, but you almost like you refuse to hear them. And more importantly, your guides and angels are always around you to protect you. So, no, there isn't any real interaction from falling angels directly here. Um, but I'll just put this footnote in there. If you have your very low energy, you can attract prankster spirits, but prankster spirits are not fallen angels. 80. Are we living in a matrix or a simulation here on Earth? This is a 3D world with the fourth dimension being linear time. And then when you step over into the heaven dimension, you're what's called a fifth dimension world. That dimension actually moves faster than the speed of light, and time actually becomes nonlinear. Okay? 79 in the countdown. The discs between our vertebrae degenerate as we age over time. In the future, will researchers find a way for us to repair these discs? Yes, 3D biological printing is going to be very prevalent, and the use of CRISPR genetic engineering technology will mean that the body will adapt to these new, let's say, insertions of devices or biomedically printed, biologically, 3D biological printing of these elements, and the body will not reject them. So, yeah, combination of things coming up here. This is definitely over a 5 to 10 year span here for this to get implemented. 78. Hello, Sterling. There have been several significant developments regarding Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the VRA, and its impact on gerrymandering, particularly as the 2026 election approaches. Will the Supreme Court change the Voting Rights Act before the primaries that would allow every state to gerrymander their maps? It's interesting. I see the Supreme Court is going to allow gerrymandering, but it's going to backfire. So it's like, if one can do it, everybody can do it. So that's going to create a better balance among all the states and among all the parties. You've already seen Governor Gavin Newsom of California put up for election, special election November, to vote on allowing for special gerrymandering. So I do see they're going to allow it, but this decision by the Supreme Court will actually end up kind of backfiring in the long run. 77. Dear Sterling, you mentioned a few times in the U.S., other worldwide locations, we will see a football field-sized UFO event. If this happens, wouldn't that be disclosure since it is viable proof? Yes, and as a matter of fact, this rollout's happening already. So there are actually thousands of images already captured of large triangle Palladian ships. And these are football field sized ships. Even the Phoenix Lights that occurred a lot of years ago, that was a large scale football field sized ship. Actually, a lot of images are already. So this is actually part of the rollout of the full disclosure process. 76. In terms of a person's life path, is it a script we are destined to follow or an outline that takes form as we interact with others and use our free will? Can it be so precise that we choose our appearance, the illnesses we will suffer, and the hardships we endure, or that kind of thing is left all to chance? So you actually pre-plan every major event in your life. That's birth, death, new career, loss of a career, medical events, soulmates, your appearance. You actually map all those out. Remember, free will interacts with your life path plan according to the 3 S's. The 3 S's are speed, scope, and scale. So yes, you do plan out all the major events. And like I've said, timelines are a bit like a slinky. So the timeline is all connected, but just the way a slinky can breathe and expand it and move it back and forth, there's a little bit of breathing in that life path, but you definitely lay out all the most important events. And actually, to go further, people lay out these events in what are called life cycles. Everybody's on 7-year cycles or 10-year cycles. Those are like chapters in a book. And every life cycle has major, major lessons that you decide you want to learn. 75. Dear Sterling and team, you have indicated that Bigfoot extraterrestrial species exist, but how do we account for the different looking Bigfoot ETs around the world? Are we talking about different ET races showing us different looks, or one ET race showing us different looks and seemingly different abilities? So they're all part, if we're talking about the Bigfoot classification of extraterrestrials, they're all anywhere from 8 to 14 feet tall. They all show themselves as like hairy beasts, if you are, hairy animals. There are slightly different versions with height, color of the fur, but essentially they're all from the same extraterrestrial species if we're talking about a Bigfoot species. Remember, they're all here on Earth mining resources, have been for millions of years. 74, where is heaven located? It's a separate dimension that moves faster than the speed of light. So it is another dimension. If you magically could accelerate yourself to faster than the speed of light, you wouldn't survive that, but if you could, you'd actually be able to see that dimension. That dimension exists, it's infinite. It exists all around us. So it's like seeing a brand new world all around you. It's like having a new set of vision glasses. But it's all around us, and that dimension is moving faster than the speed of light. 73. Are we required to see former loved ones that treat us badly in our life when we cross over to our place of light and love in heaven? You're never required to meet anybody. You have complete free will on the other side. You don't have free will to not go through your life review. Now, life review doesn't mean you have to be in front of people, but you do have to acknowledge the lessons you're supposed to learn when you were down here. So you have free will and you can do anything you want on the other side, but it's always beholden upon us to kind of learn the lessons we're supposed to learn during each lifetime. 72, when you pray for an animal you don't know or a person you don't know personally, does this have an effect or do anything? Yes, it's like sending them a FedEx package, a FedEx Express package. So they feel it, they feel the love, they feel the energy. It absolutely like sending a FedEx Express package through the universe. Every living entity, if you send them love and light, whatever your thoughts are, they receive it like a very fast FedEx Express. 71. Hello, Sterling. I'm very concerned about the Smithsonian Institution's history. The 45 administration wants the museums to reflect their views. What do you see for the future of this institution and keeping humanity's truth alive in these museums? It's going to have no long-term effect. So it's analogous to, let's say, spraying graffiti on a building, and then over time, then you go back and you take the graffiti off, and the integrity of the building is still there. So it won't be able to erase history. It'll all be kind of cleaned up, if you will. Think about it in terms of like graffiti on a building. Then you're going to take the graffiti off. Building's fine. 70. Can a person be contacted if they have reincarnated? Reincarnated, yeah. So yes, this is done through a process called multi-point connection or relay point connection. Keep in mind that most Homo sapiens sapiens do not reincarnate any faster than 80 to 100 Earth years. But in terms of large-scale mass events, the Holocaust, 9/11, large plane crashes, a lot of times those soul groups come back much faster because they have a mission as a group. But if somebody has reincarnated, it's relay points in heaven that allow you to cross connect with them, okay? It's not part of their soul. It's not a fragment of their soul left in heaven. It's actually like a relay connection point. Think about like satellite communication, relaying communications through various satellite terminals. 69. Since you are a messenger for millions of spiritual entities on the other side, I was wondering if they always agree with each other or do they have different perspectives? So there's never any disagreement about universal truths, right? Universal truths about who we are, what we're doing here, what our purpose is, why we have reincarnation cycles. So there's never any disagreement about that. There are many entities on the other side that have expertise in certain areas, the sciences, health, genetic engineering, world peace, free energy from a quantum physics standpoint. So not really a disagreement, but there are some, let's say, more specific areas where there are angels, guides, famous people from history that are more focused on certain areas of humanity, but never any real disagreement regarding the universal truths of who we are, how we got here, what's the nature of the soul. 68. Are people that are considered to be geniuses and have dramatic impacts on people's lives on Earth actually harnessing information from the other side, or could they be hybrids? For example, Sir Demis, it looks like, Hassabis, a British AI researcher and entrepreneur and chief executive officer and co-founder of Google's DeepMind. In these cases, these individuals are highly connected to the other side. Steve Jobs is another good example, highly connected. So, not hybrids, but they're just highly connected and understand what their purpose is in life. Because when you set out, for example, before you come down here, your life path plan might be to create great innovation for humanity. You'll have the right types of guides and angels and communication skills to bring that information forward. 67. After watching a YouTube video about AI being used to analyze crop circles, scientists are acknowledging that these are highly mathematical representations of universal facts and above normal human intelligence. Pardon me. Is this a means that ETs are using to gradually reveal their presence? Yes, as a matter of fact, but keep in mind that crop circles are a phenomenon that have been around for hundreds of years, going back to like the 17th century. So this is something that is actually a part of the human lifeline and part of the plan for Earth and the world. But remember, the information coming through crop circles has actually started a long time ago, and there'll be more and more information revealed through these crop circles. So yes, it's all part of the process. 66. Sterling, you mentioned Neuralink technology. Did advanced ET civilizations ever utilize these technologies? Are these technologies necessary for humanity to develop into the future? So, Neuralink is an Elon Musk company that's developing what they call it's like implantable brain-computer interfaces. And yes, I mean, extraterrestrial groups have had a way to connect biological systems with technology systems. So you always have they have an interface technology with extraterrestrials. I have to emphasize here, a lot of people are fearful of these technologies. It's all going to be free will. If nobody wants to be involved in anything like that, they don't have to be during their lifetime. But the evolution of humanity, if you go through hundreds and now thousands of years, this will be very commonplace for humanity to have a direct connection with technology that will enhance your lives, your access to information. But we all have free will. I always have to say that because I know it scares a lot of people. So, so extraterrestrials use this technology, have used it, and it's going to be coming for humanity as well. 65. Our beautiful country, a once great empire built on the idea of a place where freedom of individual potential could exist, is now in decline. BRICS is gaining momentum around the globe as the U.S. becomes more and more irrelevant. Please ask your guides if we will ever again see a place of integrity and innovation. Yes, within about a decade. That just means that there's a ripple effect and there's a lag effect. When a lot of things happen, it takes a while for recovery. But I'm talking about, more prominence around the world. We're about a decade to go here around restoring a lot of faith and goodwill. It's very true. By the way, I'm just being reminded that it's within a decade, substantially a lot of the old guard, like in Congress, will be gone. So they'll be replaced by a lot of new thinking individuals that have humanity at their core in terms of their goals and what they're trying to achieve. So over a 10-year period, going to be a real kind of cleaning house and a restart and much better goodwill around the world. This person, I guess, is asking about the U.S. 64. What will happen to all of the researchers at Harvard University and elsewhere who have had their funding cut? And those labs will have to close if something isn't done to restore funding soon. Here again, I see some billionaires stepping in here and there to actually help support these organizations. It won't make up for full funding. A lot of full funding will be restored in the middle of 2026. But there's some sort of like interim plans going on here with some billionaires stepping in at various universities. And I believe Harvard's going to be one of them. Well, they will benefit from donations from billionaire groups. 63. Sterling, you often talk about the 30-year reset, the years 2020 to 2050 that we're all going through. Will this include major geographical changes as well? Yes, it includes everything that is around the universe on Earth. Geological changes, technology changes, humanity changes. Yes, this is all the big reset. And you see a lot of the kind of repositioning of tectonic plates around the world. And just had an earthquake in Australia that my guides were talking about 2 weeks ago is coming. We just had that. Yeah, so yeah, it's all part of a whole geological and technology, humanity, and spiritual reset. So a lot of people, we always talk about the veil becoming thinner. Many poor people will be commonly psychic mediums, be able to talk to family members across over, bring forth divine energy, divine information, execute healing very well. So this is all part of the big change, the 3 decades. 62, will the new U.S. Constitution include physical and mental health evaluations from independent doctors for every candidate running for major offices? Yes. I see that within 5 years, we'll have complete medical, emotional, psychological exams required by all major candidates for all major races. I do see that. And there may be an element here, an amendment to the Constitution that will reflect that. It might say something like, of sound mind and sound authority or something, but it'll actually indicate that there's actually real medical exams that are required. Yeah, I do see that within 5 years here. 61, will Russia be successful in taking Alaska? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I see several countries would be in line, like almost ahead of Russia, trying to take Alaska in a funny way. Alaska's not going anywhere. But no, I do not see that's going to take place. 60. I have heard that since 45 has released public land for private acquisition, the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, is going to sell off much of the land in California. What do you see happening in this area? I still see 1 to 2% of public lands nationwide being sold off. So there's going to be a percentage of public land sold off. It's not going to be massive. 1 to 2% is still, a big chunk of land. But it basically, like, this process will get started and then shut down. But there'll be about 1 to 2% of public lands that will be sold off. 59. Pete Hegseth recently amplified a pastor's message stating that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Is this where the GOP Republican Party is heading? And if so, will it be successful? Well, the party's definitely headed that direction, but it won't be successful long term. That's trying to reverse a lot of, human rights and women's rights, way back, decades. And it's actually not going to happen. But the party is definitely pushing that direction if that's part of the question. 58. Will Phoenix and Las Vegas become too hot to live within the next 50 years? Will they have water issues that will lead to disaster? Well, yes, this is going to be a problem for these areas. So we're talking about Phoenix and Las Vegas. But over the next 50 years here, this is where dome cities, underground cities are going to be part of the solution that's coming up. So this is why, because of environmental factors, even pollution, things of that nature, dome cities and underground cities. So some of those will be built around Phoenix and Las Vegas. It's going to be a problem, but so they'll supplant the requirements in those areas by building differently. 57. In 2015, the Supreme Court's decision in Obergefell versus Hodges made same-sex marriage legal in all 50 states, ensuring equal rights and responsibilities for same-sex couples under the law. Will the Supreme Court overturn gay marriage? This is a very complex case, and whatever case is before the Supreme Court is very narrow. I think this involved like a county clerk that refused, right, to marry a couple. So I think the case is going to uphold the rights of like the clerk at the individual level. I'm trying to remember, was this Kentucky county clerk? Yeah, so I see that like those individual rights will be upheld, but it won't spin out to the reversal of what's being asked for here, gay marriage. No, it's like a very focused case here, is what they're telling me. 56, the smartphone has evolved into a conduit for incorporating AI into our everyday lives. Did Steve Jobs, while in these altered states, have direct communication with ETs and or guides from the spiritual realm? Did they in fact creatively inspire him to come up with the revolutionary design behind the iPhone and propel mankind forward, technically speaking? So he did connect very well with his team of angels and guides. Whenever you're communicating very well with your angels and guides, they are the stewards to everything in the universe, including connecting with extraterrestrials. So if that's part of your life plan, yes, Steve Jobs had indirect communication with extraterrestrial groups through his guides and angels. So I have to tell you, it's not uncommon. And I think more and more humanity is going to realize this as time goes forward. A lot of individuals around the world have had this kind of communication linkage to help humanity. And yes, Steve Jobs utilized that skill. 55. In the last couple of episodes, you have talked about our lifespans being extended around 40 years and it being a gradual process that maybe current 40 to 50-year-olds might see a 20-year expansion. Does this mean we will also have longer reproductive phases? Will we continue having children much later in life without the need for reproductive technology? Will things like Down syndrome decrease with these advances? So it's kind of like yes to all the above. Genetic engineering will turn around a lot of the diseases that we have, extend life, extend reproductive time periods, the ability to be able to be reproductive. Um, what's interesting about all this is it's gradual, right? It doesn't happen overnight, and that's why it's a gradual change across humanity. And eventually, genetic engineering will be able to address whatever needs to be addressed within humanity, within Homo sapiens sapiens. So it's true. 54, you've indicated on prior shows that we start a new life when we cross over. Does that mean that a loved one who has crossed over can fall in love on the other side if they never had the chance to have true romantic love on this planet? Well, all options are available in the heaven dimension. Yes, you can experience anything you want. If you can think it, you can create it. We actually have that ability here on Earth, but you'll see it's very easy on the other side. The answer is yes, you can create any kind of a reality, experience anything you want under the guise of free will on the other side. Not a problem. It is all good. 53, will Pierre Polyev win back a seat in the Battle River Crowfoot, Alberta, Canada election, or will independent candidate and military trailblazer Bonnie, looks like Critchley, win? Although this may not be a popular way forward here, it looks like Pierre somehow is going to wedge his way in, and by a very close margin, it looks like he'll win that seat. 54, 45 is demanding UCLA pay a $1 billion fine over a host of alleged DEI allegations and subsequently has frozen UCLA's federal grants. Will UCLA and Governor Gavin Newsom be able to win the case against 45? I do see federal judges getting involved, if they haven't already get involved, in forcing the hand of the government to give the funds to UCLA. So I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm just getting from my team that like whatever case is being made will being showed it's nonsensical, that they can't stop the funds, and the funds will eventually go right to UCLA. I do see that. 51 in the countdown. If souls return to Earth after many lifetimes of learning valuable lessons, why does it seem that the population is less intelligent and less evolved than ever? Shouldn't it be the opposite at this point? So I see the population is becoming much more enlightened, and that's what that whole this 3 decade reset's all about. However, sometimes a lot of, let's say, the ones that are less enlightened can be the noisiest. So it looks like they're a larger group. So I do see by and large the population is evolving, is becoming more enlightened. I do see many more older souls down here on Earth right now. Remember, old souls refers to the number of reincarnations. All souls were activated at the same time. But yes, I do see the actual population becoming more enlightened, even though the noisier ones seem like it makes it seem like it's not. 50 in the countdown. There is an estrangement epidemic among adult children, mostly driven by social media. Many adult children are choosing to go no contact with their parents, even though they were raised in stable, loving homes. The trend doesn't advocate for any type of child self reflection or accountability, but instead places the blame for all these things going wrong in their lives squarely on the parents' shoulders. What does your team see for the longevity of this destructive trend in young people? This is actually a lot of the young population is now going to start to go through, I'm going to call it the school of hard knocks. So at some point, everybody has a wake up call in life where you realize that you actually are in control, that there's nobody else to blame, let's say, but yourself. You have personal power. But it's a bit of the school of hard knocks when people kind of get knocked down and they figure out, okay, now I think I've got lots of trouble here. I could blame my parents forever, for example, but I know that's not going to make a change, especially let's say if your parents passed away, just for example. So I do see we're ending a period of what I call hard knocks here. Remember, the pendulum kind of swings one way and then the other. And we're going to get to a place here where there's more of a realization among the younger generation that they actually do have control and need to take control of their lives. So it's going to turn around. And it's also a time now I'm hearing from my team that parents have to now start to demonstrate what I call tough love, right? So it's like you want your children to experience life, to learn from life. A little bit of tough love is required. 49. My grandson is 17 years old, nonverbal, and has severe autism. He is considered to have an intellectual level of a 3-year-old. Is it possible to communicate with him through a psychic or a medium? Would he understand a message? Yes, even though his outward communication skills are minimized, his soul and telepathic communication skills are as good as anyone else's. Yes, a psychic medium can help you, but also as you learn, for example, if you can learn how to develop the clairaudient gift, and we have, ways of helping with that. But let's say you have the clairaudient gift working, that aligns very well with telepathic communication. You can actually telepathically communicate as well with, this is your grandson. So yeah, it's actually it's all part of the revelation that's coming for humanity, that how things work and how the soul communicates. And even though the physical outward manifestation may be somewhat limiting, the way the soul connects is infinite and actually true and abundant. Yeah. 48. Pan-Africanism, a movement advocating for the political, economic, and cultural unity of people of African descent, has been a significant force throughout Africa's post-colonial history. The idea of a unified Africa free from the grips of neo-imperialism and colonialism continues to be a powerful aspiration, with initiatives like the African Union and the African Continental Free Trade Area, I guess, Act, aiming to foster greater integration and cooperation across the continent. Will the 55 recognized countries in Africa remove neo-imperialism and colonialism and successfully become one Africa? Yes, but not until the year about approximately 2050. So it's not going to be a fast process. It's going to definitely get there, but it's a bit of a long haul. It's part of the 3 decade reset. 47. Is it true that mirrors are portals for evil spirits to enter one's home, especially at night? No truth to these assertions at all. No. 46. When will advancements in breast cancer screening replace the current mammogram method, which involves painful breast compression? Right now, artificial intelligence integration is coming with new imaging technology it's about a 3 to 4 to 5 year span here before it gets fully implemented. But I already see rollout of some of the new technology, really highly leveraging artificial intelligence to take better images and then also to kind of analyze them against trillions of pieces of data. So it's actually, well, fully implemented within 10 years, but a lot of people start to benefit within about five. 45, Louis DeJoy has left the USPS, that's the United States Postal Service. There is a new postmaster in charge. 45 has notoriously attacked the USPS and has threatened to privatize the organization. Will 45 be successful in dismantling the USPS and their union? How long will the USPS stay afloat as AI takes over? Will the letter carriers have at least 15 more years? USPS will have about 20 more years, so longer than 15, about 20. But we're actually going to move to a place where everything will be digitally delivered. So it won't really be physical delivery of mail anymore. And so you can see a transition over that period. I don't see USPS becoming privatized. They try, but it's not going to happen. But it's kind of a 20-year window in terms of this question that's being asked. 44, high Sterling team. Do you see Jasmine Crockett losing her seat in the future? I do see because of the redistricting, she will lose her seat. But then there's another larger position coming for her in Congress or in the administration. There's something coming here, not in the current administration, but the one that kind of evolves right after this one. So kind of losing that, but then getting a higher, almost more influential position. So she's going to be okay. Looks like redistricting and the gerrymandering going on is going to be a problem. 43. Do ETs have wars? Are there entities in the universe similar to us that still solve problems through violence? Yes, there are some ET groups that use violence. It's mostly based on territory in the universe. It's less than 1% of the ET population. Overall, ETs are highly evolved in terms of, how to get things done, and that war and violence doesn't really solve anything. You just live to kind of fight another day. Yeah, so it's less than 1%, and some of these ETs, they get aggressive over territories. 42, will the entertainment industry's employment of real live human actors and actresses become obsolete with the advent of AI technology and AI actors? Well, yes, by and large, physical actors will not be a major component in the entertainment industry by 2050. Now, it's going to be an evolution here, but the actors will have different types of roles. So it won't be physical acting, but it might be creating the content or somehow implementing the models that go into artificial intelligence. So yeah, the physical acting by and large will go away. Artificial intelligence will be creating a lot of what you see. 41. I'm wondering, with 45's continuing and even increasing erratic and bizarre behavior, are there members of his administration that are questioning their loyalty to him? Yes, about half of the internal team right now is questioning what the future holds for the administration. They see cracks in the dam. They see things coming up here. So yes, there's about half that are concerned and kind of looking out after their future. So it's a problem, a lot of chaos going on there. 40, will the Canada fires get under control soon? There are hundreds of Canadian fires, a lot, and many of them are through natural occurrence, lightning storm, lightning hits, climate change. I don't see a lot of these being under control until we get out into the latter part of next year, like 2026. So it'll eventually get under control, but that's not soon. It's way out into 2026. There are hundreds of Canadian fires. 39. When dogs dream, do they dream of the angelic realm they are part of or their current life with their families? All the above. So when animals dream, they actually do a lot of astral travel. They can move out into the other dimension very easily. Humans can do it too, Homo sapiens sapiens. But yes, animals, it's all the above. They dream about what's going on around them and sometimes will do astral travel and move out to other spaces. 38. DC is militarized as of Monday morning. Is this part of the AIM strategy, the M part of the AIM strategy. Yes, this is part of the M in the AIM strategy. Remember, it's analysis, investigation, movement, military, separation. It is all part of kind of the composite. Now, remember, when I bring this information through from the other side, I don't always know the overall ramifications of what it means. So the M with the military movement, in this case, means a lot going on with the military. Some martial law and then some ways of correcting a problem that's going on right now. But that is with the administration I'm referring to. You know, yeah, this is actually part of the overall process going forward. I'm just getting confirmation from my team here. So yeah, let it play out. I'm just a telephone to the other side, but allow all this to play out. 37. Can you please clarify how there can be both young souls and old souls if we are all infinite beings? Well, yeah, we're all infinite beings, so we're composed of energy. So that is certainly true. Souls were all activated at the same time. Old soul versus new soul always refers to the number of reincarnations in any area of the universe, any galaxy. But the higher number of reincarnations starts, you reference yourself as an old soul. Typically, the tipping point's about 100 reincarnations. So you start moving to old soul territory, and there are many individuals that have reincarnated thousands of times. 36. Hello, Sterling. I think I've heard you say recently that our family members here on Earth belong to our extended soul family on the other side. And I'm wondering if that is always true. I've had a tense relationship with my sister-in-law for many years. I recently asked my inner guidance why this tension exists. The immediate clear response was that she and I are in different soul families. Is that possible? No. If you're down here, anybody you're interacting with right now on Earth is actually part of your extended soul family because you come down collectively to learn lessons. So it's interesting. Your extended soul family consists of people around you. That's family members, that's in-laws, that's children, stepchildren, step families, adopted children, bosses, best friends. Actually, it's all part of your extended soul family. So no, not from a different soul family, especially in the case of a sister-in-law, I think is what you're referring to. 35, does the one source, one force know when we are suffering and feeling anxiety? Yes, the one force is omnipresent, all present, and omnipotent, all powerful, knows everything. However, will never stop you from learning the lessons you're supposed to learn. So, yes, aware of it, giving you support, working with your guides and angels to help you learn the lessons you're supposed to learn. But don't step in. They don't step in and stop what I call tough love lessons. 34, RFK Jr. recently canceled contracts for vaccines. Will voters demand that their representatives push back on this issue to prevent needless deaths? Yes, voters will push back on this issue, but it's not going to have a material, substantive effect. We're actually going to get in kind of a supply chain issue here around vaccines in 2025 and early 2026. We get down to the middle of 2026, that'll start to get corrected. Yes, voters will push back, but we're still going to have the supply chain issues for various medications here. 33, will diseases such as MS, multiple sclerosis, and breast cancer be cured through the use of CRISPR technology? Yes, this research has already started. They're already doing tests. They've already had, say, good success around using genetic engineering around pancreatic cancer, sickle cell anemia, a number of, but yes, breast cancer, many forms of cancer are going to be highly treatable with CRISPR genetic engineering technology as well as MS. So a lot of neurological diseases. And this is what's going to happen over the next 10-year period. A lot of big breakthroughs in those areas. Yes. 32, I'm interested in hearing what your guys have to say about transhumanism. Right. So this is the technology that allows humans to integrate technology to overcome their limitations. So it's a little bit of, we talk about Neuralink technology, whatnot. Yes, I mean, this is all part of what's on the future pathway for humanity. The integration of technology around biological systems is going to be very commonplace. Remember that a lot of extraterrestrials are so advanced in this area that they actually, some people like to refer as mind control, but the way they control ships is just through a thought. I need to go here. I need to go there. That is a coupling of technology and biological systems. So transhumanism, the development, the pushing forward of integrating technology with biological subhumans is coming. Yeah. It's all free will. I don't know, a lot of people get fearful out there. If you don't want to have anything to do with it, you won't have to. It's just all part will be kind of on a needs basis and whether you really want it and you want to participate and you think it'll elevate you in what you have to do in life. 31. NASA is saying they will be putting something nuclear on the moon. Will it actually come to be? You know, in a simple form, there already are nuclear power plants and nuclear devices on the moon already. Many extraterrestrial groups have already placed them there, but they're asking about something nuclear. There's many nuclear devices already on the moon, so that horse is already out of the barn, so to speak. 30, we are trying to figure out if one of our family friends was targeted by a prankster spirit. A few years back, she was home alone late at night when the doorbell rang. When she opened the door, something that looked like her boyfriend was standing on the porch and asked for permission to enter. This was very odd as they lived together and he could have easily used the key. She said that the entity looked like him but moved very strangely, not normal human movements. When she questioned him, he turned to leave, but his movements were too fast to be human. Her actual boyfriend arrived shortly after and said that it was not him. When they looked back at the ring camera footage of the porch, they could see her shadow moving and interacting with something they couldn't see, but nothing showed up on the camera footage. This was very frightening to her. Can you please tell us that this was a prankster spirit? No, so I'm not a doctor, but I'm getting it's not a spiritual event. It's not a prankster spirit. Has something to do with like a lucid dream state or a hallucination state. Not a doctor, but this is actually not even how prankster spirits interact. What's being described here. This has something to do with the individual person. So it's like a lucid dream state, a hallucination event here. 29. Are those souls who commit suicide permitted to reincarnate? Yes, everybody's allowed to reincarnate. Remember, everything that takes place here on Earth is part of an extended life path plan, a blueprint. There are no accidents on Earth. Every time you think there's an accident, it's not an accident. Every event affects everybody else's life path. But yes, people that enter into a suicide phase are certainly allowed to reincarnate as part of the universal life cycle. 28, you've mentioned that once we transition from this life, we start a new life on the other side of the veil. Do we begin our new life as babies or whatever age we want to experience? You go back to any age you desire. Most people go back as adults, but maybe they might shave 20 years off of their parents. So yes, you can go back at any age, experience anything you want. That's very true. 27. What's the difference between spiritual guides and angels or birth angels? So angels stand very close in the angelic realm to the one source, the one force. Guides or working spiritual guides actually were individuals that walked the planet one time, thousands of reincarnations. They've risen to a level of understanding they're allowed to be guides for people here on Earth. So different forms, different hierarchy in heaven here. 26, you mentioned that Bigfoot are shapeshifters. Do they change their shape to look like other animals like birds, or can they look like trees and rocks? No, mainly only large, hairy beasts. That's kind of what they choose to look like. They feel like that's the way to be somewhat unnoticeable in natural events. Of course, you know, if you see a 14-foot high hairy beast, it's noticeable, but that's their choice. 25, will Washington, D.C. ever become a fully governing state? Yes, in several decades, so it's not going to happen fast. 24, England is having significant problems with their water reserves since it has not rained for a considerable length of time. How long will this condition exist? You know, this is a major problem for England, but I do see large spending going on or starting to go on, investments in, let's say, reservoirs and ways to conserve water. But it's going to be a problem all the way out through like 2050, like significant shortages. Kind of a reworking of how England approaches water requirements, reservoir building, making investments. It's kind of a long-term problem England's going to have to wrestle with here, but we'll make it through it. You're going to make it through it. But now is the time I just see like major taking it seriously, investment, and I keep hearing reservoirs. So it must be some way to recapture water that's not being done right now. I'm just being reminded here, no real major rain events to turn this around. So I think that kind of parlays on what they're saying here. 23, I recently read the book Imminent by Luis Elizondo, who worked for the Pentagon program that was responsible for the investigation of UFOs. Some of the examples that he uses in the book show that there may be a reason to fear ET invasion. I know that on the show, you always speak highly of our ET friends. Is there a group in the great outdoors who do not have friendly intent towards humanity and we need to be concerned about? And remember, less than 1% of extraterrestrial groups can be a little more aggressive. So no, there's nothing to worry about. The predominantly 99% of all the extraterrestrial groups are actually focused on saving humanity, saving Earth. So no, the aggressive ones are being kept under control by the larger groups of extraterrestrials. 22. United Airlines flight attendants have rejected a tentative contract agreement in July 2025, indicating continued tension and potential for a future strike. Will their contract be settled soon? It looks like it's going to get settled by the end of this year, 2025. Maybe it could be January 2026. I don't see them going on strike. I see the threat of a strike, but it looks like it's going to kind of go back and forth, and I'm not sure here whether sometime the federal courts get involved if an airline wants to go on strike. Don't know what this is all about. My team's just saying there's a government issue here too. However, it looks like there won't be a strike, and then the contract gets settled finally by the end of this year. They can call it January 2026. 21. When a person dies, can they choose to stay on this plane of existence or do they automatically move to the life review? So everyone's guided by their team of birth angels and angels. They're moved to the other side. You actually see animals and family members or people that you're comfortable with being greeted by as you go across. You don't stay here. You actually move out into a very large environment. Always reminds me like Grand Central Station. It's where a lot of other people are like being processed, and you actually get to start a life review. There's a whole process there, but no, you don't stay here on Earth. You actually move forward, you move on, guided by your birth angels. 20. When a psychic goes into someone's energy, does that person feel it happening? Well, so they don't really go into the energy. And so what happens is psychic mediums actually are communicating with you and your team, your angels and guides, not really going into your energy. That's an expression. I think some people believe that's the case, but you're really communicating with the other person's angelic team, their angels and guides. And by virtue of that, it's like having a big conference room meeting, but they're not really stepping into your energy per se. Some people might consider if you step into a large conference room where all your angels and guides are there talking, maybe that's stepping into the room, but it's not really stepping into your energy. 19, I know as a Homo sapien sapien, our knowledge is limited. However, what is important for us to know about the universe? It's important to know that the universe is infinite and expanding at the speed of light. So everything that we think we know is not even been discovered yet. That's the most important thing. And I talk about this, some scientists estimate there are 2 trillion galaxies that are like the Milky Way galaxy, which is what we're in. My team says that's off by a factor of 10. It's 20 trillion galaxies out there. So if you consider if our Milky Way galaxy, remember the Earth is only a minute portion of the Milky Way galaxy. Well, if you could take the Milky Way galaxy, fit it on the head of a pin, and then consider the rest of the world, that's kind of the expansiveness we're dealing with here. So that's the most important thing to know is that the universe is infinite and expanding constantly at the speed of light. 18. In August 2025, the FDA has notified manufacturers, importers, and distributors of unapproved animal-derived thyroid medications, including Armour Thyroid and NP Thyroid, made from deceased, is it porcine thyroid, of their intent to take enforcement action against these products. These medications are not FDA approved, and concerns about inconsistent dosing, potency fluctuations, and potential impurities have been raised. Armour Thyroid was grandfathered in because they've been around longer than the FDA's creation. The FDA wants to shift everyone to pharmaceutical synthetic thyroid. There are many people with autoimmune diseases that cannot tolerate synthetic forms of the medication. Do you see the FDA stopping natural thyroid from being sold in the US? Here again, I see a supply chain problem for a good 10 to 12 months as we're going to start to get in this period here. But it looks like it gets rectified, turned around, and then all the prior, let's say, animal-derived thyroid medications will be available again as we get out into mid-2026. So, yeah, a little bit of a disruption in the supply chain here. Being forewarned is forearmed. I'm not a doctor, but that's just what they're telling me to tell you. 17, will there be undeniable close-up clear photos and videos of ET motherships and other ET crafts in the news in 2026 to allow humanity to get used to the ET presence before the beings themselves are officially introduced next couple of years? Yes, this has already started all around the world, especially in parts of Europe. Yes, this has already started right now. And actually, I'm getting a lot of information that is actually going to start to be released by NASA finally. 16. If you haven't been in contact with your guides and angels, will you later in life be able to make contact with them as you evolve in your life path? Yes, you can start at any time to communicate with your angelic team. They're always with you. You can start at 8 or 80. Makes no difference. 15, when CRISPR genetic engineering is implemented and perfected, will it make permanent physical changes? For example, will the physical appearance of a Down syndrome person change to that of a non-Down syndrome person? In the case of dwarfism, will there be bone structure changes to normal, or will surgery still be required to make up for, let's say, for what CRISPR cannot develop? The answer is yes to all the above. As we get way out into the genetic engineering frontier, they're 10, 20 years, we'll be able to genetically engineer, just as extraterrestrials have, any biological change that's required in the body. Remember, because it gets down to the genetic cellular level. It helps cells heal themselves, helps cells replicate. So yeah, I mean, it's yes to all the above as we go out in time. For some of the things about changing, let's say, dwarfism to non-dwarfism, probably more like 20 years out, 2 decades out. But whatever change is required by humanity, Homo sapiens sapien, will be achievable. Not everybody will want it. Remember, there's free will on earth, there's free will in heaven. Everybody's able to kind of make their own choices, but those abilities and those choices will be available to everybody. 14. Hi, Sterling. You often speak of CRISPR genetic engineering technology being used to cure various diseases. Will these breakthroughs be available to the average person or only to the rich who can afford them? Eventually, they're going to be available to everybody because even though a lot of insurance companies and medical institutions are profit-driven, in terms of insurance companies, for example, if you can reduce 90% of long-term healthcare expenses through genetic engineering, you can solve, long-term cancer problems. That goes right to the bottom line. So it's actually going to be available to the masses when it all gets rolled out. Remember, it's a progression here. 13, Archuleta Mesa is a geographic landmark near the town of Dulce, New Mexico, and is the subject of numerous conspiracy theories about a secret underground ET base. Well, while some sources refer to it as Alien Mountain, it is known for its association with the Dulce base legend, which claims a 7-story facility housing human ET hybrids and advanced technology that lies beneath the surface. Is this all true? Yes, there's a base constructed very similar to what's going on at Area 51 in Nevada. Many stories below the earth. Yes, this is done in conjunction with several government groups, and there should be no surprise as full disclosure takes place. The presence and locations of these kinds of bases will be made available. And this Archuleta Mesa, or in Dulce, New Mexico, this is one of the locations. 12. Hello, Sterling. You recently said human life would increase by approximately 40 years. Introduction of genetic engineering technology. Will our beloved pets, specifically dogs, have extended lifespans as well? Yes, genetic engineering will apply to everything that walks the earth, even things that don't walk the earth, like trees and plants. So, yes, all better for, it'll help with better living. Number 11 in the countdown. The Portland, Oregon metro area faces a significant risk of hazardous materials being released into the air during an earthquake, particularly from storage facilities in the North Portland area, according to a 2023 report from the Institute for Resilient Systems. The report highlights the potential for deadly chemical plumes from facilities storing substances like hydrochloric acid, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride, and anhydrous ammonia, which could result in thousands of deaths and injuries. Will safety measures be taken before a large earthquake occurs in the Pacific Northwest that could cause this to happen? I don't see any large safety programs put in place. Remember, forewarned is forearmed. I do see warnings of earthquakes coming, and I do see evacuation plans, let's say, being put into place. So it looks like this is going to be more of like an evacuation strategy rather than a safety strategy. For some reason, it looks like maybe the costs here are exorbitant to try to stabilize all these chemicals. I'm not I'm not a doctor here. But it looks like it's more like rapid evacuation plans are going to be put in place and started to prepare for that kind of an event. So that's going to save a lot of lives. 10. Hello, Sterling. I've recently seen people on various platforms reporting the following information. They live in deep red states and households where there are voters registered to different political parties. Those registered as Democrats are receiving notices stating their voter registration has been lost or simply disappeared from the database. It seems to be another way of GOP cheating, say because the GOP is getting so much pushback on the Texas gerrymandering plan. Will they adopt this strategy nationwide? Yes, I see the strategy's already been implemented even in prior elections. So yes, this is going to continue to be rolled out. But remember, I see a counterbalancing here of, let's say, opening the floodgates for gerrymandering. It's almost like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So there's going to be an equilibrium achieved here. But yes, in regards to this question, this sort of a cheating practice of having some political parties' registration all somehow go away, yes, it's going to continue, and it's actually been going on for a long time. 9. An 8-mile-long series of ancient rock paintings known as the Sistine Chapel of the Ancients was discovered on a rock wall along a river in the Columbia Amazon, dating back approximately 12,600 years to the end of the Ice Age. Some of these drawings resemble animals that can be identified, but many of the animals cannot be identified. What are these animals? These are all animals that actually existed prior to the Ice Age. Now, the Ice Age ended about 12,600 years ago. I think they're quoting here in the question. The Ice Age started, what, a million years ago? Or in history, I think it's 1 million or 2 million years ago is when it started. Yes, but these are animals that actually existed, walked the planet, were deposited here by ET groups. But those animals are actually coming back in the future because they're going to be redeposited Earth by the same extraterrestrial groups that originally deposited them here. But the animals that can't be identified are ones that actually did exist. 8. Did President Eisenhower meet with extraterrestrial and extraterrestrial groups? Yes, and they provided detailed information about the history of humanity and the future of humanity. 7. The village of Blatten in the Swiss Alps was tragically affected and buried by a significant glacier collapse and landslide on May 28, 2025. The Birch Glacier, located above the village, collapsed under the pressure of rock and ice from the, is it Cleans Neshthorn Mountain, okay, which had accumulated on the glacier in the preceding weeks. This event resulted in a massive debris flow and ice avalanche that buried and destroyed a large part of Blatten or Blayton. Do you see other big accidents like this taking place again in Switzerland over the next 5 to 10 years? Yes, I see several glacier collapses in this area. Now, the good news is I do see ample warning. Like individuals will know a week or 2 weeks, for example, in advance, the glacier is getting ready to go. So it'll allow for a lot of the citizens, residents, to flee the area. I do see glaciers bearing other locations, other cities here in Switzerland and the Alps. But again, I just see like good warning windows. 2 week warning is a nice window to be able to get out. It's not the best of all scenarios, but remember, nature and the earth and Gaia are resettling, they're reforming, and this is all part of that. 6. Hi, Sterling. As my family and I are surrounded by Mother in her final moments of life on Earth, I felt an energetic wave move through me before her last breath was taken. What was that? This was her soul leaving her body. Very common occurrence if you're around individuals that are moving to the other side. You actually can sense their soul, their spirit, their energy moving. Different people will experience different effects. Some will feel it moving through their body. Some will see like a lot of like sparkly stars moving up out of the person. They may see what looks like a cloud of energy, of white energy moving. It's different for everybody, but that's actually what this individual is seeing or feeling. 5 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. As you know, there are thousands of psychics and channelers around the world. Some provide conflicting information. Is it possible that the trillions of guides and angels out there in the universe provide different information to the psychics and channelers? No, there's different levels of skill for everything that we do in life. It doesn't matter what profession, what you're doing, different levels of skill. And you can also look at the analogy that it's like speaking also different languages. So some people might be more proficient in Italian or Japanese or English. I'm just using it as an analogy. So there's different levels of interpretation, language, skill level. All those things can change the interpretation of information coming through. So remember, I always tell people, always trust your gut reaction to any information you receive. We all have teams of guides and angels. Any information you receive, cross-check it with your gut. That's your intuition. That's your angels and guides communicating with you. And number 4 here. With the advent of CRISPR technology, what place will alternative therapies like Reiki and traditional Chinese medicine have in the decades to come? They will be complementary to CRISPR genetic engineering. Remember, human body is very complex from a spiritual and a physical level. The genetic engineering provides like the tools, but your guides, angels, healing modalities that we're talking about here, Reiki and traditional Chinese medicine, they're all complementary. They all work to the greater good. They all help accelerate healing. So it's not one as opposed to the other. It's really the combination of a lot of these things. They're all very complementary. And number 3, number 2, and number 1, I always take notes before I start these shows. So I'll read those to you. Number 3, do your extraterrestrial friends have anything they want to share? We are intensifying our focus on the Middle East and parts of Russia, Ukraine right now that are becoming very volatile. But rest assured, we will not allow any major nuclear events to take place. Number 2, what do you see coming up next week? New information releases from international sources on the Epstein files, large storm activity on the east coast of the U.S., as predicted, major new breakthroughs in the science of insects and bees and how to maintain these populations, these important populations for Earth, new interstellar object identified by NASA that will create additional excitement among UFO researchers, and a new airline crash event coming up in Europe this week. Number one, do you have anything your guides want to share? You are the king and queen of your destiny. Take control of your kingdom and step into your power on a daily basis. On that note, that concludes the show being recorded today on Saturday, the 16th of August, 2025, deployed to all media and social platforms on Sunday, the 17th of August, 2025. As always, if you want to join our Platinum YouTube group, we're doing live streams on Fridays, gives you access to hundreds of videos in our archive. The join button for our YouTube Platinum membership is on the front page. You'll see it on our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. On that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.